I don't push it, I don't strain.
Because you got
I'm
that.
practicing breathing.
I was a
I
hundred.
mean.
I've been doing it for 81 years. I still haven't gotten it right.
I read a book about this.
I'm sorry, too wet.
There's a lot of science about how you should breathe properly, and the main thrust of this book is that you should not breathe like through your mouth. You
Right.
should breathe through your nose.
What they told me
That
is
was Friday night,
you take a short
51
breath
miles.
in through your nose
45 minutes.
and then twice blow it out. I said, you listen.
The idea is that by training stuff, you can train your body to get by. Taking less frequency breaths.
Did you say Gail? Nice to meet you.
I think the idea is you would breathe deeper, breathing through the nose. Of course, it's difficult sometimes if you have allergies and, you know, it's clogged.
You know, I have sinus issues. I mean,
Look where you're going. I
drop it, spray it in hell. Keeps me going.
in and out.
Thank God I'm still breathing.
No, I just carry a lot of tissue with me when I go walking, in case my nose gets clogged, but.
It was.
Well, I take it easy.
My father was a country doctor.
But today was very uncomfortable, very humid.
Yeah.
Very humid.
How did you take?
Even our living room window
How do you
get
take Alamo?
frosted.
He
You know,
he was.
In the morning, yeah. I get up in the morning and I work at
Yeah.
Florida room.
He was in Connecticut.
I don't really enjoy going
North
out.
Carolina, but simply didn't go to school.
Hello, Doreen.
Hi, Paul. How you doing, honey? Good.
So then he went to Emory. They weren't very kind in those. Then he went to University of, to Emory University. He got his master's, he got his.
Oh, we made it to another year.
And then it so happened.
And I just came back.
Through his internship. Alamo,
Most of them.
lost their doctor, died. And they offered him whatever setup, whatever materials made, was there, he could have.
You know, I was like, well, it just sucks.
It wasn't really a fault, but so he decided to go there at least for a year, yes, he was there. And yet, after he arrived, he got an anonymous letter in pen. And
It's funny because
then UGD.
when I was there.
Get out of town within 20 minutes.
I'm not waiting.
Sonny went to the things.
All the signs of
Instead.
$1,000.
Passed away very early in life.
Cheapest place is
This is one.
$1.
But he stayed.
Yeah.
And I was born in Emory. And living in Alamo.
I'm curious. Did you find any prejudice to you while you were growing up there?
I was called two boy a few times, but that in one life.
They give it incentives.
So he had to go see my.
The next one is on the west side.
And he charged him double. Right. Never the time my father knew what it was.
Oh,
It's too risky. There won't be fees there on the steps. And there's
The temple is
settlements, the first time I heard settlements.
bigger than Alamo.
No,
They at the time it was
settlements.
10, 12, 14.
Yeah.
And in the old synagogue.
I'd say it was great.
Stores,
Was right up against the wall between,
fix,
you know,
well, keep
Israel
them.
South and the rest.
that will keep it open. We turn
I
it
don't see her in Eastern Europe.
and,
It wasn't in Jewish.
I belong to the synagogue in Connecticut, and I belong to the museum, and I belong to the.
Gives you- gives you
I'm
thought.
religious, but.
Far away here,
And,
you know,
and
it
so
isn't so real.
the holidays.
Walk down the street and see a wall.
But after my wife died, I.
The wall was necessary, and stop the bombings.
So I started going back to Georgia. I said, yeah.
Have you been to Israel?
Shana, I drive up to Georgia.
I'm gonna have Rita take you.
And then,
She knows that you're ready. She's been there.
I'm back.
In fact, I think she did the same tour I did.
I think you want to, I could show, tell me your first name again. Steven. Steven. And Shu, yes, good choice, yeah. Okay, all right, yes. Yes, good choice. Welcome as new members.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Is he on it?
Yes, yes, indeed. Good job.
I do know, I always famous for breakfast.
Oh. well, very good.
No, we went to two days last night for dinner, so I brought home a Tuesday. And it's for breakfast. You too. Jerry and I had dinner. We get along so
Share
well.
the day.
No,
Oh.
he's found in the house in the morning.
Oh, well,
He's in his apartment.
oh, okay.
We get along so much better now that we don't live together. We see each other twice a week.
Hi, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. I do want to wish you all a happy Shabbat and a happy Shavuot. Shavuot, as I've said before, is kind of the poor cousin of Jewish holidays. But it is very significant because of its later identification with the giving of the Torah. It started out as the Chag Pitzir, that is the festival of the harvest. Has anyone ever participated in the harvest? Yes. Yes. Oh, good. Big tomatoes or little tomatoes?
Whatever.
Very good. We had a garden in New Hampshire. And the one thing that grows in the soil of New Hampshire is rocks. So when I dug up the little patch of ground we had reserved for Annabeth's garden, there were a lot of rocks. And I dumped them at the bottom of the hill. And she did pretty well with the, whatever it was she
Everything
was
okay?
growing. But most importantly, we grew rabbits. From time to time, we find a little
You okay,
teeny
King?
tiny baby rabbit in the garden. Yes, yes, rabbits are probably the least offensive of all of nature's creatures. So, anyway, I want to wish you all good Shabbos.
Yeah, hi, I'm ready to go back.
Oh, well, this one was too, it was only about this big. Yeah. Yes, yes, yeah, the careless mother. Yes, this was the high point of my outdoor life. At one point, I bought a kit for Tyler, she was little then. And we built a birdhouse and hung it in a nearby tree and left it there for months and years. And then eventually I thought, maybe I should take down the birdhouse. And it had been occupied by a family of field mice. So that was a lot of nature in one place. It was a little startling, but all those mice coming out at once. Okay, you can never have just one mouse. All right, let's light candles, and I also want to welcome Gail and Stephen Henshu as new members. Baruchim habayim, blessed are you who come. Thank you so much. Very honored. And this time, Gail and Sherry will light Shabbat candles. Okay. Please rise. Yeah. It's Shabbos and it's Yom Tov. Yes. Technically, Shavuot began Thursday night. So by now, we're kind of running on things. Yeah. Conservatives move on. Older one.
Yeah.
We wave our hands over the candles, bringing Shabbat, cover our eyes and do the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Asher Kirisham Yubemitzvotav Bemitzvotav B'tzivanu B'tzivanu L'Havlikne B'tzivanu B'tzivanu L'Havlikne B'tzivanu B'tzivanu L'Havlikne. All right, you may be seated. And we'll begin with the Sholom Aleichem on page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashem, Malachei. We'll continue now. If you did Nefesh, we'll do it in English this week. And tune, as you may know. Take my disposition and shape it to your will. Like a darting deer, will I rush to you before your fields. Let your sweet love delight me with this thrill. because no heart dainty will my hunger still. How splendid is your light, till you make the world. My soul is weary. Oh, love's divine. Please, good God, to heal. The pleasure of your presence. In your grace, he will find strength and healing in your side. Forever we serve you, grateful with all my faith. Technically, we're not supposed to do any of the 6 Psalms or the Bachadodi because it's considered sort of rabbinical gilding the lily. You already have the splendor of Shavuot. Why is it necessary to include these other prayers? But I think we need to include something. So we'll start the beginning on page 15. Mikad ma'afara b'toda, izmirot narialo, Yen gadol Adonai, and the last 3 lines. Arba'in shana kut bidor, Haram toel levatein. Ein lo yadun rachai, Asher nishpati v'yaki, Im yevohun el menuchati. And we'll continue now. With him is more the David on page 20. It is more the David, Abu Adonai Belevi, Abu Adonai Kavod Vaos, Abu Adonai Kevod Shemo, Ishach Abu Adonai Behadrat Kodesh, Ol Adonai Al Hamayim, El HaKavod Yirim, Adonai Mayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Ahoah, Kol Adonai Ehadar, Kol Adonai Shomer Arazim, Vayishaber Adonai Etar Zehano, Vayarkidem Kimo Egel, Levanu V'Sirion, Golden Reimi, Kol Adonai, Otse Babotei, Kol Adonai, Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai, Midbar Kodesh, Kol Adonai, Yechol Elayalo, Vayecheso Yarot, Uvechalo, Ulomer Kavod, Adonai Lamahul, Yashav, Vayeshev Adonai, Melech B'olam, Adonai Osianu Yitain, Adonai Yivarech, Et Am Vasham. I always like this song. Well, we do it twice. It's not unusual to do a song twice, but we're doing it tonight. And technically, we do it tomorrow when we're carrying the Torah around, what I call the recessional, bringing the Torah back to the ark. And this is also a very unique psalm because 7 lines from the bottom, on the last 2 words on the line is then Re'elim. That is the Lebanon and Syria, the mountains dance like the children of Re'elim. Now, the Re'elim has different meanings, and the general explanation is to call Re'elim a wild ox, but it's also been referred to as a unicorn. And it's the only mention of the unicorn in the entire Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. So it reminds me, one of my favorite cartoons from the New Yorker shows it's pouring rain, and these 2 unicorns are watching sadly as Noah's Ark recedes in the distance. And one unicorn turns to the other and goes, "That was today." So, okay. Well, we can't do L'chad Dodi. I mean, nothing would happen, but let's leave it out because we'll observe tradition in that regard. Technically, you're supposed to begin the Friday night service on page 23. This Moshir Leon Hashabbat. Let's take it 4 stanzas from the bottom. Your enemies. I'll do that one. Your enemies, Adonai, your enemies shall perish. All the wicked shall crumble. Together, but thee you have greatly exalted. I am anointed with fragrant oil. I have seen the downfall of my foes. I have heard the despair of my attackers. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. It shall grow tall like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, it will thrive in the courts of our God. It shall bear fruit even in old age. It shall be ever fresh and fragrant. To proclaim Adonai is just, my rock in whom there is no flaw. I always remember when I would assign the bar bat mitzvah kids to read the responsive reading, there was always 1 or 2. It shall be ever fresh and flagrant. So wonderful stuff. Oh, you never say the shame you. Yaki ki ashar Adonai suri bla Continuing now. 24. Adonai malach keut lavish, lavish Adonai usit hazar, aptikon fevel baltimon. The last 4 lines. Mikolot maim rabim adiri mishpereya, asir bamaroma Adonai, edotzecha nemnu biod, v'beit chanav kodesh, Adonai, v'orech yamin. All right, before we do the Baruch Hu, I'll do my little brush. And of course, my theme is Torah, because Shavuot is the festival of the Torah. This is a fairly later development, and I'll be expanding upon this tomorrow morning with the Shabbos morning brush, meaning that originally Shavuot was a harvest festival. It was the end of the barley harvest and the beginning of the wheat harvest. Apparently, eating gluten was not a problem in those days, but there are rituals for this holiday where they would present 2 loaves of bread, which of course is better than 1 loaf, 2 loaves of bread, wheat bread, before God. Okay, now that was the heyday of the harvest festival, but later on, somehow or other, it got identified with Torah. We're not exactly sure, and this whole notion of the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai began. And tomorrow I'll talk about the difference between the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the Essenes and all that. There was a lot. Jews are always very busy standing up for whatever they believe in, and most frequently their enemy is other Jews. It's very strange. I'd like to tell you that when the enemy is at the gate, they make peace and they resist the enemy, but that isn't always true either. What I wanted to share with you this Erev Shabbat and Erev, well, it's not quite, Shavuot, is this book. It's called Where Heaven and Earth Touch. This was edited and translated by Danny Siegel. I heard him speak at a convention many, many years ago. It was the Greater Carolinas Association of Rabbis, which meant that they drew upon rabbis from North Carolina and South Carolina. As the years went on, they included Virginia and Georgia and so on. Because quite honestly, there weren't that many rabbis down there in those days. But he was wonderful, and of course, afterwards, we all bought the books. I think there was some outrageous price, like $10. So it was really a very nice thing, and I kept it ever since. It's 3 volumes in one. But what he does is he goes through the Talmud and he extracts the more fascinating portions. Here we go. All right. Now, for example, we've dealt with this before. What is an example of a foolish religious person? It's what we call a learned idiot, or chamor nosei sfarim, a donkey bearing books. Okay, people who pretend to be learned, but they're not really. They know maybe 2 or 3 lines of Torah. Let's see. What would this person do? He's standing by a river, he's admiring its natural beauty, and he sees a woman swept away before his eyes, drowning. What should he do? He's not dominant, okay? But he says, it is not proper for me to look at her, so I can't save her. I'm sorry. Yeah, yes, this is not meant to be logical, this is Torah. Next, what is an example of another foolish religious person? He's wearing talis and tefillin and standing by the river. He sees a child, he sees a little tiny child bobbing in the foam. And does he go to rescue the child? No, very good, Paul, you know this. Okay, he says, I can't jump into the river with my talis and tefillin, so I can't do anything. Because by the time I get off the talis and tefillin, the child will be gone. Is that necessarily true?
No.
No, it's not. Okay, next, here we go. Honor your doctor before you need him. Does anybody honor their doctor? Okay.
Yeah, we go for regular checkups.
All right. Our rabbis have taught it is prohibited to enjoy anything in this world without a bracha, a blessing. You have to make a bracha.
Nice. That's good.
Okay.
Okay. That's about it, but it's nice to acknowledge that everything that we see.
There is a blessing, thanking God for nature. Yes. Now, what happens if you make the motzi and it's such an eager, hungry crowd, they snatch away all the challah before you can get it? Is that a bracha levatala? Is that a blessing for nothing?
No, because the intention was to eat.
Okay.
But the other is even when you take it out, then you want to do back 2 days.
Yeah.
And then you, when you come, you were the responsible. But here, you try.
Yeah. Did you learn that the space, the interval of time between saying the bracha and doing the act, it's one of those brachot, should be no longer than it takes to say Sholom Aleichem Rabbi Mori. Sholom Aleichem, my rabbi, my teacher. Just shows you Mishigas that they teach you in yeshiva. Okay. Yes. All right. Next, let's see. Oh, that you should. It's prohibited to enjoy anything in the world without a bracha. You have to make the bracha. Yes.
Even though you don't get it.
Well, I made that up. Yes. Yes. I don't think there's a shul where people would be so greedy as to stint the person who made the bracha. Yes.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
In the Tanakh, it says that Moses got the 10 Commandments on 2 tablets.
Yes.
When did it come about that he supposedly got the entire Torah?
Oh, God taught it to him during the 40-year period. Yes, and in 40 years you can learn a lot. You gotta
So
write
he
it down.
knew exactly what was gonna happen to him.
That's the
to
thing.
Israel in the future.
Right, there are different traditions about that. For example, there's one tradition that says Moses wrote the entire Torah except for the last few verses, because the last few verses talk about his death, and no man, not even some or woman, not even someone who spoke with God the way I'm speaking with you, should know the day of their death, because it'd be very depressing, and he wasn't the cheerfulness guy to begin with.
Solomon, David, all those things.
He didn't write the Tanakh, he wrote Chumash.
Oh,
Yeah.
so not the entire Torah.
No. According to tradition, Isaiah wrote Isaiah.
And Yechezkel wrote Yechezkel and so on and so forth, but we know that's not true.
Isn't the midrash that he learned the Talmud as well as the Torah when he was on Mount Sinai and he remembered it and over the years it's actually inscribed into writing?
Yes,
That it was like the oral part of the Torah.
yes, correct. Yeah, that's, it all depends on what you want to believe. For example, there's a belief that he says to God before he dies, he says, God, he says, really, I feel very cheated. I want to know what's going to happen to Israel in the future. And God says, turn around. So he turns around and he finds himself in a vast lecture hall because he wanted to know what would happen to the Torah once he was gone. At the very front, like a microdot, is Rabbi Akiva. And he sits and he listens to Rabbi Akiva lecturing about the Torah, and he doesn't understand a thing. I mean, don't forget the man was inspired, but he was just a shepherd. He doesn't understand. But then at the very end of his lecture, Akiva says, "Zeh halacha l'Moshe Sinai." This is a law, a tradition that was given to Moses at Mount Sinai. And Moses is very elated. He feels much more reinforced. And he says to God, God, this man is such a genius in Torah. He says, what is his reward? And God says, turn around. And he turns around and he sees Akiva being tortured to death by the Romans using red hot tongues. And God says, God, how can you allow this? This man is a genius. This man is a perfect exemplar of your Torah. And God says, be silent, son of Amram. This is my will. What are you going to do? You can argue with God, but well, it's a story. Okay. It's not a happy story, but I always liked it because it deals with human achievement and rewards. You don't always get. Well, I know that Mick Jagger sings, so you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you'll find you get what you need. You don't always get what you need either. Sorry, Mick. Because now that I'm getting older, I'm 71, I find that I'm catching up with Mick Jagger, which is a great thing for me. Okay, here's a good one. Though a duck walks low to the ground, its eyes sweep great distances. Though a duck walks low to the ground, its eyes sweep great distances. I don't believe that. I mean, I haven't communicated with many ducks. I like them, but they're not God's most clever creatures, and I don't think they can see great distances with those little beady eyes. Okay. Let's see.
So what was the point?
Whatever you make of it. I'm sorry, I'm not being clever. I'm just saying this is what they believe. Don't forget, this is not a scientific age. These are quotes from the Talmud. Okay, this is an age of faith. This is an age of superstition. And the Greeks came along and said, "Oh, that's a bunch of hooey. We're going to tell you yes." Only they said it in Greek, so it sounds more impressive. Okay. Anyone else about duck vision?
I don't like them.
There must have been some points, because why would they bring up ducks in their vision when it's like doing something so extraneous? The other thing, frankly, is that these are scholars. They're not natural historians. They really should have gone to the Museum of Natural History and checked out ducks. Yeah, no, you're right. Ducks, I can hear against ducks.
In my car, and believe me when I tell you, when I get out of my car, or Walter, he's the real duck person. They know, they come running from wherever they are, they
Yes.
sense that we're duck friendly and that we have food.
That's very nice. Yes, you're the Mother Teresa of ducks.
We go to the same ducks and we go to any ducks that we see, we always have duck food in the car, we never
You-
travel without it.
You ever want to branch out and share your platters with other ducks? Okay. Let's go get that, Jeffrey. I'm surprised.
It's all ducks except us.
You don't like that they're privileged?
No,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, they are.
plus they're an invasive species.
Mm.
They're from Mexico.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah, they're illegal animals.
that. Oh,
Friends here.
yeah.
Undocumented, right. They have no
Well,
very.
unless the sentence done.
I
no.
get some, yeah.
You have beautiful dogs?
In the back, I have a lake behind my house.
Oh,
They're beautiful ducks and geese.
oh, that's very nice. It's not even bad.
Really?
They got swans?
You were.
Swans. No.
It was,
Yes.
One were a golf for you.
fine.
Oh. We were in Puerto Rico many, many years ago. And Annabeth said, oh, look, in this little courtyard of the hotel, they had built a beautiful, beautiful forest, just like what we have outside the front door, an atrium. And we went outside, we had a little package of Oreo cookies. And I said, I will feed Oreo cookies to the swans, and you, Annabeth, will take my picture. So I start feeding the Oreo cookies,
And they attacked.
they attacked me, and they know where to attack.
Yeah.
You know? Yes, indeed. And they were chasing me. I said, Beth, hold the door up. Beth. Yes. Was it? So, I'm not big for the swan.
You're reading someone who excerpts things from the Talmud,
Mhm.
so you must have seen the point of it, or else you didn't bring in the duck story.
They voted on it too. Okay, before they put it down, they voted on it. It was passed down orally, as you pointed out, Sherry. And later on, there was a man named Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, Rabbi Judah the Prince. He had some office title, and he copied it down, although he only copied the mission, but even so. Okay, let's see. One should never show, this is Rava ben Bar Machatzia said in the name of Hama bar Goria, who said in the name of Rava, because if you'll plagiarize, you never plagiarize in the Talmud. You have to say in whose name you're giving them the teaching. One should never show favoritism among one's children, for because of 2 cents worth of fine wool that Jacob gave to Joseph with a coat of many colors, beyond what he gave to the other sons, the brothers became jealous. One thing led to another, until our ancestors wound up as slaves in Egypt. See? I like that. I mean, it's not pleasant, but it's certainly true that you shouldn't show favoritism. Okay, I know that back in the 1920s, my namesake, Chaim David, was a butcher. And butchers were reliable for having money because everybody kept kosher in those days. And every Saturday night, they sat around the big dining room table and counted the proceeds from the butcher shop. And he was very generous with his children. It was the 1920s, and he bought them all Duesenbergs. And apparently they were able to buy themselves alcohol as well. And they cracked up the Duesenbergs. But as I say, he was an indulgent parent. Oh, yes, it's a 12-cylinder. It's a gorgeous car. Really, I've had a couple myself. Paul took me riding.
I have a brand new one.
Okay. You'll like this if you're on a diet. This is Rav Chizkiah or Rav Kohen said in the name of Rav. In the future, everyone will have to give an accounting for everything they saw but did not eat. Rav Lazer said, you have to eat every kind of food at least once a year. You want to be a gourmet. Okay, all right, everybody took that very well.
Every kind?
Oh, no, it's all right. Really? Yes. Yeah. Okay. There's the story of Rabbi 1 who goes to visit Rabbi 2, and Rabbi 2 is deathly ill. And Rabbi 1 says, how are you feeling? He says, I feel like I'm going to die. He says, don't do that. And the rabbi who's doing the visiting, Rabbi 1, holds out his arm and bares his skin, and the light comes from his arm, his filament arm. And the other rabbi says, how did you do that? He said, this is the power of God within me. And Rabbi 2 got better. There are variations on that also, where they're comparing suffering. And one of them says, what is the reward of your suffering? Because they believed that if you were suffering, it was to purify your soul in order to endure life. So Rabbi 2, the one who's suffering, says, my suffering is worse than yours. And the other one says, here, and he takes out a bone. And he says, what's that? He says, that's the bone of my 5th son. So just to show you, it's really it's really very realistic. And you have to keep in mind, in those days, if you lived to be 40 years old and had a tooth in your head, it was a big deal. But I think they were more resilient. They were surrounded by enemies, ooh, just like them. And they were able to endure. Jews endure. Okay, in between the enemies. Okay, here we go. Let's you're not permitted to live in a city. I'll finish with this one. That doesn't have the following 10 things: a court to establish justice, a communal tzedakah fund to keep people well furnished, a synagogue, a bathhouse. Why would they need a bath?
Mikvah.
Yes. Well, mikvah, with all due respect, mikvah shmikvah, they had to be clean. It was a Roman style bathhouse with a tepidarium, and I can't say hot. It was a hot bath, there was a tepid bath, there was a cold bath. So this
Also had like a steam.
yes, a schwitz, but they didn't call it that. They said schwitzarium. Okay. When I was younger, I belonged to the 14th Street YMHA. And it was there I learned the pleasures of sitting in a schwitz and arguing politics with older Jewish gentlemen. In those days, I wore a not a Jewish star, a 10 Commandments around my neck. It's so hot. But the idea was to sit there until all of your pores opened up. And then you would quick run and jump in the pool to slam your pores shut before the boogers could get back in. You see, it was very scientific. All right. Okay, what else? Sufficient bathroom facilities. I think it was the folks from Crete who invented the bathroom. A doctor. If you can't make it to the doctor, you go to a bloodletter. What does the bloodletter do? Yes, that's how they killed George Washington. Yes, because they had a very primitive idea that your body contained 4 humors, or chemicals or liquids. That is bile, black bile, choler, and I don't know, whatever it was, but it caused melancholy. Okay. And if they removed some of your blood, it would restore the balance. This was invented by a Greek doctor named Ptolemy. Okay, he was not in France. All right. A scribe. Why do you need a scribe? Why? Yes, because most of the people were frankly illiterate. A butcher, very important, and a Torah teacher for children. And Rabbi Akiva added a variety of fruits, because a variety of fruits brightens the eyes. Okay. Any questions? It's an unusual form of Torah, but it's Torah nonetheless. Okay. Ducks are very prominent in Judaism. Yes, yes. Yes, because they used to practice. They would take all the rabbinical students out to the field and release one of them and say, so that was it. Oh, also in Hebrew, duck is avaz. And it's always a good idea if you have an avaz to name it wizard.
Ah.
I'm done.
Am I getting medal or?
Oh,
Take a long trip in the car.
and we're going to ask Gail and Stephen Henshu to honor us by opening the ark.
Why do you think Jerry?
Now we bow towards the ark. Arechu et Adonai Elohim. I just want to offer Jeff the other for Gail and Stephen on every other members of the congregation. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Lord our God, who has kept us alive and sustained us Lord, this is happy time. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Okay. Avir yomu meiri laila. Avir ben yomu ben laila. The nights of Ahud Shemo. El Chai V'Kayam. Tamid Lach Aleinu Leolam Boed. Omri Patzon V'Nodim. Omri V'Anodim. Let us read on 29, the right-hand side, citizen, below the line, responsibly. Torah is a closed book until it is read with an open heart. Israel, great and small, open your hearts to the words of Torah. Torah is demanding, yet sweeter than honey, more precious than gold. House of Israel, young and old, open yourselves, Torah sanctifies life. It teaches us how to be human and holy. House of Israel, near and far, cherish the eternal sign of God's love. Torah is given each day we can choose to reject or accept it. House of Israel, now as its Sinai, choose to accept and be blessed by its teaching. Amen. On page 30, we have the Shema, we cover the eyes. Shema Yisrael. Let's read the English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. These words which I command you this day, you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children, and recite them at home and away, night and day. Write them as a sign upon your hand, as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes, on your gates. Continuing now with the V'chamocha on page 32. I'd like to read the names of those who will appear on the following list for Shalema, quick and speedy recovery. Yolanda Dixon's mother, before Shalema, Lenore Cohen, before Shalema, Maureen Lobel, before Shalema, Norma Fogel, before Shalema, Jeannie Tarrant, before Shalema, Barbara and Abe Wasowski, before Shalema, Laura's daughter-in-law, Kathy. Oh, wait, sorry, let her show him, let her rest in peace. And, Michael, before Shalema. Malcolm, before Shalema. Yeah, before Shalema. Yes, Norma Fogel, before Shalema. Yes. Wells, yes, and Judy Hudson, before Shalema. Did you say Lauren Noble? Yes, I did. Thank you. Yeah. All right, let's read together the English paragraph. Help us, 33 left. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Art our coming and our going, as its life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai. Spread the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Rosalenu Sukkot Shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Yal Kol Amo Yisrael, Yal Yerushalayim, Yal Kol Haolam. All right, because it's both Shabbos and Yom Tov, we will do the paragraph at the top of 34, as well as the segments for Yom Tov below that. There's Amru Israel. So that's Hashem, they don't eat all of there's Amru and Israel. So that's Hashem, there's all the time there is all of Hey, Israel, Otilion, Otilion, Otilion. Vision, Ru, and then Israel. Hashem. So that's Hashem, there's all the is all of Sheshet Yamim Asadonai, Asadonai, et Ashtonayim, V'etzah, and then Israel. So it's Ashtonai, there's all Umayel Mashri, Shabbat Vainapash, Shabbat Vainapash, Shabbat Vainapash. Yeshru, B'nai Yisrael, Shabbat. So it's Shabbat, Please rise for that sentence. Vayedaber Moshe et Moedei Adonai el bnei Yisrael. Let's read together. Thus Moses proclaimed the festival of the Adonai before the people of Israel, which of course is Sukkot, Shavuot, and Pesach. V'yitkada Shemera Adi Brachirute, the Amli Malute, Again, because it's Shabbos Yom Tov, please turn to 41b. This is the Amidah for Festival Ma'ariv, and we include the readings for Shabbat and for Shavuot. It ends on 44, after which you may be seated. The top of 44. I still live on, I see.
Shalom, Israel, see.
Yatahu melech adum, b'chol hashem. Yatahu melech adum, b'chol hashem. Shalom, Yisrael, see. Yisrael, see. V'todielecha tivareh et amcha Yisrael v'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך שלום רב Yisrael see Yisrael see We'll continue now. with the Kiddush. Well, let's do full Kaddish. You don't have to rise, please. Yikra vikra shende rabba yom adi grafiru tevium liat mapute echayet olu v'lech olu v'chayet ol beit Yisrael Abam lau is like Bavivim Ruach Yishem rabba yom People are Vishulam Vitase, Davis Navis Lao Shmere Kurisham, in Laden Albert Martin, Alslotan Luton, Israel Moving Vishwavian Brew, Islam Rabban in Shemaya, the Hayam of Israel Brew, Amen. Say shalom in Rama. Say shalom on Israel.
Juice. Juice. Thank you. Say shalom. Yeah, say shalom. Say shalom. Hallelujah for Israel. Amen.
All right, the Kiddush for festivals, page 50, please rise. Rimaran Barabanatai, Baruch Hatzoranai, now Enu Nalan Prolan, Akim Usmanim Lisason, et Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Yom HaShavot Hazeh, on Matan Torah, Yahva Mikra Kodesh, Secher Litziat Mitzrayim, Imanu Ba'at, Baruch atah Adonai, and shall be received. Baruch atah Adonai, Page 51 is the Olenu. Okay, I'm gonna ask Paul and Rita to open the audit for the Olenu.
Say, sheet. Page 52, if you're not saying Kaddish, you can be seated. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, B'nai Rabba, Amen. Yalma Divrach, Pirutev, Yamliach, Mahute. B'chayei Chon, B'mei Chon, B'chayei B'chol Beit Yisrael. Agalau, B'zman Chaviv, Yivru, Amen. Yehish Mei Rabba, Mevorach, Yolam, Umeil Mayah. Yiporach, Yishtabach, Yipoar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh. Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shemei, Kudisha, B'richo. The Eklam in Kol Birchata B'Shirata, Tush Birchata B'Nechamata, Tamiran Yalma B'Bru, Yehei Shalom Rabba B'Shemaya, Chayim Aleinu B'Alko Yisrael B'Bru, Ose Shalom B'Mama, Uyav Se Shalom, B'Alko Yisrael B'Bru, B'Bru, Amen. We want to offer condolences to our beloved president, grandmother to us. Now, we children, yes.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Even on a day that's sad for me, in my mother's York site, it's a comfort
to me to be here with all of you and with those of you who are at home, because there's nothing like being with family when you feel either happy or sad. If you're celebrating, if you're remembering, whatever it is, feels much better. So I'm glad to be here with you on the day when I'm remembering my very wonderful mother. Her name was Ruth. I want to let you know, if you looked at the website, that the game night has been canceled for
holiday weekend.
the holiday weekend. And I want to offer special thanks to those veterans among us, for the special Memorial Day that has greater meaning than barbecues and the beach, although it's really barbecues and the beach are wonderful. But to keep in mind the special meaning of Memorial Day and how blessed we are to be in this wonderful country, where we hope for a tremendous healing among all our population. The office is going to be closed on Monday as well. If you haven't yet made your reservation for the brunch on June 11th, you can do, I know that most of you in here have done that already. But if you haven't done it, for those of you who are at home, you can do that on the website. It's very easy to do. We're expecting a lovely crowd. It's going to be a very wonderful celebration of the summer to come and all the quieter days when we're getting ready for our high holidays in September. So a good Shabbos to everyone. And thank you for being with me.
Thank you, Rita. Also, we want to say Baruch haba to our dear friend Nami Atai, who was back from the visit to the Holy Land. How was it?
Good.
Oh, good, okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, on this Memorial Day, I thought we could venture a patriotic song, America the Beautiful. I don't know if that was Julia Ward Howe, I know it wasn't Francis Scott Key, but it's an effective melody. Adonai Hashem, Gitzilim from the end of the earth. Finally, Shemali Kran, the unbelievable God, the God of you. It's around who am I? The Shalom, I'll be right. Billy goes and his son. Oh, my God, stay, but see the from beyond the This is the United States of America. Please rise for the closing meditation. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, and Lord bless you and keep you. Yo'er Adonai v'navelecha v'yiponecha, and Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai v'navelecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Lord, turn his face unto you, grant you peace. Say amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat 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 shalom.
Your day tonight is in the rotunda. Catherine, I plan to.
No, I have a problem with my leg. I'm using freaking cane
Oh, really?
and need surgery of some sort.